She sat alone on that frozen bench, her tiny body trembling, her broken wheelchair tilted against the bus stop sign, and when she looked up at him with those wide, hopeful eyes and whispered, "Mister, are you an angel?" The vampire king, who had not felt his heartbeat in 800 years, suddenly felt it crack wide open. "Before I continue, I need you to do something for me. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers. My ex-boyfriend said I will never amount to anything meaningful. Help me prove him wrong. Kindly drop a comment right now telling me where in the world you are watching from. I pour my heart into these stories, and knowing you are out there, whether it is 3 in the morning in London or a quiet evening in Texas, that keeps me going. Subscribe and join this family because we are building something special here, a community of people who love deep, emotional vampire stories, and trust me, you do not want to miss what is coming next. Now, let me take you back to where this story begins. The snowflakes fell like forgotten prayers over the city of Ashworth on Christmas Eve. In the frozen silence of Maple Street, a little girl named Lily sat motionless on the bus stop bench. She was 8 years old. Her left leg was wrapped in a worn metal brace, her wheelchair rested and leaning crookedly beside her. Her coat was too thin for December. Her mittens had holes in the fingers. She did not cry. She had learned long ago that crying never brought anyone back. 3 hours earlier, her stepfather had driven her here, told her to wait, and never returned. She still clutched the crumpled $5 bill he had shoved into her palm, as if holding it tightly enough might make him come back. Across the city, in a penthouse that overlooked the glittering lights of Ashworth, Lord Kalen stood at his window. He was ancient, beautiful, terrifying in his stillness. Christmas meant nothing to him anymore. It had once. Centuries ago, when small hands had reached for him, when a tiny voice had called him Papa. But that was before the fever took her. Before he buried his daughter beneath a winter oak and sealed his heart in ice. Tonight, like every Christmas Eve, he walked the empty streets. Not to hunt. Simply to remember. He pulled on his long black coat, his jaw tight, his crimson eyes dull with centuries of grief. And somewhere across the frozen city, a little girl whispered to no one, "Please. Somebody come." Lord Kalen walked through the empty streets, his boots crunching against the fresh snow. The city was silent. Families were inside, gathered around warm fires and glowing trees. He belonged nowhere among them. He turned onto Maple Street without knowing why. Perhaps it was fate. Perhaps it was something older than fate. And then he saw her. A small figure huddled on the bus stop bench. Alone. Shaking. A broken wheelchair beside her. He stopped. For a long moment, he simply stared. His immortal senses took in everything. The blue tint forming on her tiny fingers. The ice crystals clinging to her hair. The way her breath came in shallow, desperate puffs of white mist. She was dying. Slowly. Quietly. The cold was stealing her life one heartbeat at a time. He should walk away. Humans were not his concern. Not anymore. But then she looked up. Her eyes, wide and brown and filled with a strange, flickering hope, locked onto his face. "Mister," she whispered, her voice thin as paper. "Are you an angel?" Something inside him shattered. He had not heard that question in over 300 years. His daughter had asked him the same thing, the night before she died. He knelt slowly in the snow before her, his crimson eyes searching her pale face. "No, little one," he said quietly. "I am no angel." Lily studied him for a moment, her cracked lips trembling. "Then why did you stop?" Kalen did not have an answer. He had walked past 1,000 humans in his centuries of existence. He had never stopped. Not once. But looking at this child, this fragile, discarded, freezing child, he felt something stir in the hollow cavern of his chest. Something that felt terrifyingly like a heartbeat. "Where are your parents?" he asked, his voice rougher than he intended. Lily looked down at her lap. Her mitten-covered fingers twisted together. "My stepfather left me here." She swallowed hard. "He said someone would come get me. But nobody came." The words hit Kaylin like a blade. "Left her. On Christmas Eve. In the freezing cold." His hands curled into fists at his sides. A low growl rumbled in his chest, ancient and dangerous. "How long have you been here?" Lily shrugged, her small shoulders barely moving beneath her thin coat. "I do not know. The sun was still up when he drove away. Hours." She had been sitting here for hours. Kaylin's jaw tightened. The predator in him stirred, hungry for the blood of the man who had done this. But he forced it down. Right now, there was only her. He reached out slowly, carefully, giving her time to pull away. His cold fingers brushed against her cheek. She did not flinch. She leaned into his touch. And in that single moment, something ancient and broken inside the Vampire King began to shift. Now pause with me for just a second. If this story is already pulling at your heart, hit that subscribe button right now. I am not asking for much. Just one click. But that one click tells me you want more stories like this, and I promise you, I will keep delivering. This is more than a channel. This is a family. And you belong here. Kaylin pulled his hand back sharply, as if her warmth had burned him. This was dangerous. He knew it. He had spent centuries building walls around his dead heart, and this child, this fragile human girl, was somehow finding cracks he did not know existed. He stood abruptly, stepping back from the bench. "You need to find shelter," he said, his voice cold and distant. "There must be someone. A neighbor. A relative." Lily shook her head slowly. "Mama died last winter. It is just me and him now." Him. The stepfather who had thrown her away like garbage. Kaylin's chest tightened. He looked away, staring into the swirling snow. "That is not my concern," he said, more to himself than to her. But his feet would not move. Lily watched him with those impossibly wise eyes. She did not beg. She did not cry. She simply looked at him as though she understood something he did not. "You are scared," she said softly. Kaylin's gaze snapped back to her. "I am not scared of anything." Lily tilted her head, a small sad smile tugging at her lips. "Not scared of me. Scared of feeling something." The word struck him like a silver blade through the chest. He wanted to deny it. He wanted to turn and disappear into the night, to return to his cold penthouse and forget this ever happened. But then a car turned onto the street. The headlights cut through the snow, and Kaylin's enhanced senses immediately recognized the scent of cheap whiskey and stale cigarettes. The vehicle slowed. A man stumbled out. Heavy. Unshaven. His eyes bloodshot and cruel. Lily's entire body went rigid. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." Kaylin turned slowly, his crimson eyes narrowing on the man approaching them. So, the stepfather had returned. But not to save her. "There you are," the man slurred, his voice dripping with venom. "Thought you could run away from me, huh? Make me look bad." He reached for Lily's arm. And something ancient and terrifying awakened inside Lord Kaylin. His hand shot out and caught the man's wrist in an iron grip. "Touch her," Kaylin said, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper, "and I will tear your arm from your body." The stepfather's face went pale. Who the hell are you? Kaylin smiled slowly, allowing just a glimpse of his fangs to show. Your worst nightmare. Let me ask you something. Have you ever watched someone protect a child who had never been protected before? There is something sacred about it. Something that makes your soul ache in the best way. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been that protector for someone? Or have you been waiting for someone to protect you? I want to hear your story. The stepfather stumbled backward, yanking his wrist free from Kaylin's grip. His eyes were wide with terror now, the alcohol-fueled bravery draining from his face. You can have her, he spat, backing toward his car. She is nothing but a burden anyway. Useless. Broken. He scrambled into the driver's seat and sped away, tires screeching against the icy road. And just like that, Lily was truly alone. She sat frozen on the bench, staring at the disappearing taillights. No tears fell. Her face held no expression. It was the look of a child who had learned to expect nothing so that nothing could hurt her. Kaylin stood motionless in the falling snow. He should leave. This was not his responsibility. He was a king, an immortal predator, not a guardian for abandoned human children. But when he looked at her, sitting so small and still in the freezing darkness, he saw another face. His daughter. His Elena. The night she had looked up at him and whispered, "Papa, will you stay with me?" He had stayed. Until her final breath. And he could not walk away now. "Come," he said quietly, his voice softer than before. Lily looked up at him, confusion flickering in her tired eyes. Where? Somewhere warm. Somewhere safe. He reached down slowly and lifted her from the bench. She weighed almost nothing. Her small body trembled against his chest, and instinctively, she wrapped her thin arms around his neck. She smelled like snow and sorrow and something faintly sweet, like forgotten honey. "I do not even know your name," she whispered against his shoulder. "Kaylin." She was silent for a moment. "I am Lily." "I know," he said, though he did not know how he knew. He retrieved her broken wheelchair with his free hand and began walking through the empty streets. The snow swirled around them, but Lily no longer shivered. His immortal body radiated a strange, ancient warmth that seemed to wrap around her like a shield. She rested her head against his chest. "Mr. Kaylin?" "Yes." Her voice was barely a breath. "Thank you for stopping." His grip on her tightened. He did not trust himself to speak. "I need to stop here and say something important. If you have been watching silently up until now, this is your moment. Do not ghost me. I spent hours crafting this story for you. The least you can do is hit that subscribe button and join this beautiful family we are building. We are the fastest growing vampire love stories community on this platform, and there is so much more coming. You are special. You belong here. Do not miss what happens next." Kaylin carried Lily through the silent city until they reached his penthouse. The elevator doors opened to reveal a vast, elegant space filled with shadows and ancient artifacts. He set her gently on a velvet sofa near the fireplace and ignited the flames with a wave of his hand. Lily's eyes widened, but she did not seem afraid. "You really are not human," she said softly. "No. I am not." He draped a thick blanket over her small frame and stepped back, watching the color slowly return to her cheeks. Lily looked around the room, her gaze stopping on a small portrait hanging above the mantel. A little girl with dark curls and kind eyes smiled from the canvas. "Who is she?" Kaylin went very still. For a long moment, he did not answer. The fire crackled. The snow tapped gently against the windows. "Her name was Elena," he finally said, his voice hollow. "She was my daughter." Lily turned to look at him. Was? Kaylin sank into the chair across from her, his ancient eyes fixed on the flames. She died. A very long time ago. A fever took her. I held her in my arms and begged every power I knew to save her. But death does not negotiate. Not even with kings. Lily was quiet for a moment. I am sorry, she whispered. Kaylin shook his head slowly. I swore I would never love again. Never allow myself to feel that kind of pain. For 800 years, I kept that promise. He looked at her then, his crimson gaze filled with something raw and unguarded. And then I found you on that bench. Lily clutched the blanket tighter. My mama used to say that love finds you when you stop looking for it. Kaylin's jaw tightened. Your mother sounds like she was wise. She was, Lily said, her voice trembling now. She was the only one who ever loved me. When she got sick, she made me promise to be brave. She said someone would come for me. Someone who needed me as much as I needed them. Tears finally spilled down her pale cheeks. I thought she was wrong. I thought nobody would ever come. Kaylin leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper. She was not wrong, Lily. Can I be honest with you for a moment? Stories like this do not write themselves. I stay up late, I pour my soul into every single word, because I believe these stories matter. They heal something in us. So if this is touching your heart right now, please do not scroll away without subscribing. It takes you 1 second. But it means the world to me. And if you have ever felt like Lily, like nobody was coming for you, tell me in the comments. I am here. This community is here. You are not alone. The hours passed slowly in the warmth of the penthouse. Kaylin brought Lily a bowl of hot soup from his kitchen, a room he had never used in all his centuries of living there. She ate slowly, savoring each spoonful as though it were the most precious thing she had ever tasted. When did you last eat? He asked quietly. Lily paused, thinking. Yesterday, I think. Maybe the day before. Kaylin's hands curled into fists at his sides, but he said nothing. He simply brought her more soup. And then warm bread. And then a cup of sweet tea. She ate it all. When she was finished, she looked up at him with a shy smile. You are very scary looking, she said. But you are actually kind of nice. Kaylin raised an eyebrow. Kind of nice? Lily giggled. It was a small, fragile sound, but it filled the vast penthouse like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Okay. Very nice. Something shifted in Kaylin's chest. A warmth he had not felt in centuries. He sat beside her on the sofa, keeping a careful distance, as though afraid she might break if he got too close. Tell me about your mother, he said. Lily's eyes softened. She used to sing to me every night. Even when she was too tired. Even when she was sick. She would hold me and sing about the moon and the stars. She hummed a few notes, her small voice cracking. She said the stars were angels watching over us. Kaylin listened in silence, his ancient heart aching. She sounds beautiful, he said. She was. Lily leaned her head against his arm, her eyes growing heavy. Mr. Kaylin? Yes, little one. Do you think she sent you to find me? Kaylin looked down at her small face, peaceful now, trusting in a way that terrified him. Perhaps, he whispered. Lily smiled, her eyes fluttering closed. I think she did. Within moments, she was asleep. Kaylin did not move. He sat perfectly still, afraid to disturb her, afraid to shatter this fragile, impossible moment. For the first time in 800 years, his penthouse did not feel empty. It felt like home. But outside, in the frozen streets of Ashworth, danger was stirring. The stepfather had not driven far. He had stopped at a bar, drowning his fear in whiskey, and with each drink, his terror had transformed into rage. That freak had humiliated him, threatened him, taken what belonged to him. Lily was his property, his burden to do with as he pleased. And nobody, not even some red-eyed monster, was going to take that from him. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. "Yeah, it is me," he slurred. "I need a favor. I need some guys with guns. And I need them tonight. Listen to me. Right now, your heart is beating a little faster. You feel that tension building. You know something terrible is coming. That is the magic of storytelling. And if you are feeling this deeply, you need to be part of this family. Subscribe right now. Hit that notification bell. Because you do not want to miss a single second of what happens next. We are in this together. You and me. Let us see where this story takes us." Kalen sensed them before he heard them. The rumble of engines. The stench of gunpowder and hatred. The pounding of hostile heartbeats approaching his building. His crimson eyes snapped open. "They found us." He moved swiftly, gently lifting Lily from the sofa. She stirred, her eyes blinking open in confusion. "Mr. Kalen? What is happening?" Before he could answer, the penthouse doors exploded inward. 5 men stormed in, armed with rifles and rage. Behind them stumbled the stepfather, his face twisted with drunken triumph. "There she is," he shouted, pointing at Lily. "Grab her. She is mine." Lily screamed. Kalen placed her behind him, his body becoming a shield between her and the intruders. His fangs extended. His eyes blazed like hellfire. "Leave now," he growled, "and I will let you live." The stepfather laughed. "You think you scare me, freak? I brought silver bullets. Heard that works on your kind." He nodded at his men. "Take her." The first man lunged forward. Kalen moved like shadow and lightning combined. He grabbed the man by the throat and hurled him across the room. 2 more came at him, and he dispatched them with brutal efficiency, bones cracking, bodies crumpling. But the 4th man was smarter. While Kalen fought, he circled around, creeping toward Lily. She screamed again as rough hands grabbed her arm and yanked her toward the shattered doorway. "Kalen," she cried out. "Kalen, help me." He spun, reaching for her. And then the gunshot rang out. Silver tore through his chest. Kalen staggered, gasping. Pain unlike anything he had felt in centuries ripped through his immortal body. He fell to one knee, clutching the wound, black blood seeping between his fingers. Lily fought against the man holding her, tears streaming down her face. "No. Let me go. He needs me." The stepfather walked over to Kalen and spat at his feet. "Not so tough now, are you, monster?" He grabbed Lily by the hair, dragging her toward the door. "Say goodbye to your freak," he hissed. Lily reached out toward Kalen, her small hand stretching desperately. "Please," she sobbed. "Please do not leave me." Kalen tried to rise, but the silver was burning through his veins, weakening him, poisoning him. His vision blurred. The last thing he saw before darkness claimed him was Lily's terrified face disappearing through the doorway. And then silence. He lay alone in the wreckage of his penthouse, bleeding, broken, the ghost of her scream echoing in his ears. For 800 years, he had protected his heart by feeling nothing. And now, in the span of a single night, he had found something worth living for. And he had failed her. Just like he had failed Elena. The thought cut deeper than any silver bullet. Perhaps he was never meant to save anyone. Perhaps he was cursed to lose everyone he dared to love. Perhaps the stepfather was right. Perhaps he was nothing but a monster. I need you to stop and breathe for a moment. Feel that heaviness in your chest. That is the weight of the story settling into your soul. This is why I do what I do. This is why I stay up late crafting every single word. Because stories like this make us feel alive. So please, if you are still here, if your heart is aching right now, do not leave without subscribing. Do not be the viewer who watches all this and walks away silently. I see you. I appreciate you. Now show me some love. Hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments, do you think Kaylin will save Lily in time? I need to know what you are feeling right now. Kaylin lay in the darkness, silver poison spreading through his veins like fire. The pain was unbearable. But it was nothing compared to the agony in his soul. He had promised himself he would never feel this again. The crushing weight of loss. The suffocating guilt of failure. The hollow emptiness of watching someone he loved slip through his fingers. Elena's face flickered in his mind. Her small hand reaching for him as the fever stole her away. Papa, stay with me. And now Lily's voice joined hers, echoing in the chambers of his dying heart. Please do not leave me. He closed his eyes. Perhaps it was better this way. Perhaps death would finally grant him the peace he had been denied for 8 centuries. He could join Elena in whatever afterlife awaited immortals who had loved too deeply and lost too much. He could rest. But then another memory surfaced. Lily's face when she first looked up at him at that bus stop. The hope in her eyes. The way she had asked if he was an angel. He was no angel. But for her, he wanted to be. For her, he wanted to be something more than a monster hiding from his own heart. She had lost everyone. Her mother. Her home. Her hope. And now she was in the hands of a man who saw her as nothing but a burden to be discarded. If Kaylin gave up now, she would die believing no one had ever truly fought for her. No. He could not let that happen. He would not let that happen. A growl rumbled deep in his chest. His fingers clawed at the marble floor. His muscles screamed in protest. The silver burned like hellfire with every movement. But he rose. Slowly. Painfully. Impossibly. He rose. Blood dripped from his wound, leaving a dark trail behind him. His vision swam. His body begged him to stop. But he kept moving. One step. Then another. He staggered toward the shattered doorway, his crimson eyes burning with renewed fury. I am coming, Lily, he whispered into the frozen night. Hold on. Outside, the snow had stopped falling. The city lay silent and still, as if holding its breath. Kaylin lifted his head and inhaled deeply. Her scent. Faint. Fading. But still there. Heading toward the old industrial district near the river. He bared his fangs. The predator was awake now. And nothing, not silver, not bullets, not an army of men, would stop him from bringing his little girl home. Tonight, the Vampire King would hunt. And heaven help anyone who stood in his way. Can I tell you something? This moment right here, this is what separates those who give up from those who become legends. Kaylin could have surrendered to the darkness. But he chose to rise. He chose to fight. And that choice is everything. Now I need you to make a choice too. You have watched this far. You have felt every emotion. Do not leave without joining this family. Subscribe. Hit that bell. And tell me in the comments, have you ever had a moment where you wanted to give up but chose to keep fighting? I want to hear your story. Because your story matters. You matter. Outside, the night bled silver. Snowflakes hissed against the city's rusted rooftops as Kalen moved through the dark like vengeance wearing a heartbeat. The wound in his chest flared with every step, but pain only sharpened him. Pain was proof that his dead heart was beating for someone again. Lily. You remember her, right? That tiny girl with the broken wheelchair and the brave eyes. The one who asked him if he was an angel. Hold that picture in your mind, because that's what keeps Kalen walking through the snow when every rational part of him says he should already be ashes on the wind. Follow me. Let's see what happens when a monster remembers he has a soul. The old industrial district slept under a shroud of frost. Factories fossilized in ice, windows shattered, rats darting between piles of twisted metal. But deep inside one of those abandoned warehouses, lights flickered. The stale scent of burnt whiskey and fear filled the air. That's where Lily was. She sat tied to a chair, her face streaked with tears and soot. The stepfather paced before her, still drunk but now trembling with the realization that he might have woken something older than nightmares. You think he's coming? He sneered at her. That freak? He's not human, kid. He'll burn in daylight same as the trash he is. Lily didn't answer. She just looked at him with that same mysterious calm that had haunted Kalen since Maple Street. Hope, not loud or shiny, but stubborn. And then the lights flickered again. The air changed. You know that feeling before a storm hits? The sound drops out of the world, like everything's waiting for one breath to decide what lives and what dies. That's what these men felt when the warehouse door creaked open. Kalen stepped through. His coat billowed in the wind like a black tide. The silver wound on his chest still smoked, but his eyes, oh, those eyes, burned with a crimson so fierce it painted the snow drifting through the open door. Lily looked up. Relief cracked across her face like sunrise over ruins. Mr. Kalen, she whispered. He heard every syllable like a prayer. The stepfather lifted his pistol with shaking hands. Back off, you demon. Kalen didn't slow. She was a child, he said, voice low and terrible, and you left her to die. She's mine, the man spat. Not yours. Kalen moved faster than breath. In a blink, the gun was gone, the man was pinned against a pillar, steel beams groaning beneath immortal strength. I should end you, Kalen hissed. Fangs bared, eyes gleaming. And listen, this was the moment, right? The easy ending. The monster avenges, the villain bleeds, everyone cheers in the comments. But hold up. Don't click like yet. Because what happens next isn't about revenge. It's about redemption. Behind him, Lily struggled against her ropes. Mr. Kalen. Please don't. Don't be like him. Her words hit him harder than silver ever could. He froze. His grip loosened. For a heartbeat he saw his reflection in the man's terrified eyes, not a savior, not an angel, but exactly what Lily feared. Kalen's voice broke. You were right. He dropped the man, who collapsed, gasping. Take your life, Kalen said quietly. Run, and remember the mercy of monsters. The stepfather scrambled toward the exit, wrenching open the door. Snow blew in, wild and blinding. He got exactly 3 paces before Kalen's power shattered the steel roof beam above him. It crashed to the floor, blocking the exit like a sealed tomb. Kalen didn't move a finger. He just stared. But if you touch her again, he whispered, mercy dies with me. That was the sound of justice, not roaring, just absolute. He turned to Lily, and his face changed. The wrath melted away, leaving only worry. "Hold still, little one." He ripped the ropes with ease, brushing slivers of twine from her wrists. Her skin was icy cold. When he lifted her, she clung to him, not out of fear, but absolute trust. "I knew you'd come," she murmured. That simple truth pulled something infinite inside him back together. He carried her out of the warehouse into the quiet streets, where snow glazed everything in moonlight. Behind them, sirens wailed in the distance, drawn by the echoes of violence and miracles. Kaylin didn't run. He just walked, every step steadier, the poison burning away under the force of his will. Now pause here with me, viewer. This, right now, is the soul of the story. Not the fights, not the fangs, but that look between them, where she knows she's safe and he knows he's forgiven. If you've ever needed someone to show up for you the way Kaylin showed up for Lily, I swear, you're not alone. Type "someone showed up" in the comments. Let's make the algorithm cry tonight. They reached the riverfront. Beyond the frozen water, dawn trembled faintly over Ashworth. Kaylin lowered Lily onto a bench, the same style of bench where their story had begun, and knelt in the snow before her. "I am sorry," he said softly. "For what?" "For nearly failing you." Lily shook her head, hair shining like frost. "You didn't fail. You came back." She pointed to his chest. "Even though you were hurt." He smiled, a real one, small and human. "I suppose angels do that." "You said you weren't an angel." A pause. "Then, maybe I'm learning." She laughed, tired but bright. "You are funny for a scary vampire king." And just like that, the centuries between them collapsed. The old immortal knelt before the small, fierce mortal, and together they watched the first shards of sunlight climb the sky. He felt it, the warmth of dawn against his skin. It should have burned him. It didn't. Because, lean in close, listener, love changes the rules. Hours later, the police would arrive, finding an unconscious, handcuffed drunk babbling about a red-eyed demon. They would take him away, muttering about drugs and ghosts. But by then, Kaylin and Lily had vanished into legend. Where did they go? Here's what the city whispers. Some say he rebuilt the old orphanage on Rose Hill and filled it with warmth and laughter, adopting every lost child he could find. That there was always a man in black tending gardens at midnight, and a little girl with a metal brace chasing fireflies beside him. Others say they left Ashworth entirely and wandered the world, an ancient vampire and a brave girl in a repaired wheelchair, teaching one another how to be alive. Whatever the truth, everyone agreed on this: that year, Christmas felt different. Kinder. As if the whole city had exhaled after holding its breath for too long. And if you walked past Maple Street bus stop on Christmas Eve, sometimes you could swear you heard a child's voice giggle through the wind, followed by a deep, amused chuckle echoing from nowhere. "Mister, are you an angel?" "Not quite, little one. But I'm learning." Now let's step out of the story for a heartbeat. You're here, still reading, still breathing in this world we built together. You, me, Kaylin, Lily, all of us proving that broken things can still glow. That monsters can become protectors. That abandoned hearts can find family again. If that means something to you, don't just watch. Belong. Drop a comment with the country you're in so we can see our family stretch across the map like a sea of tiny Christmas lights. Because here's the secret: when you tell me you're out there, the stories come alive. Back in the world of the tale, Kaylin stood beside a river that shimmered gold with sunrise. He looked down at his reflection, eyes softer now, skin touched by light, and for the first time in 800 years, his heart truly beat. He turned to Lily, who sat wrapped in his enormous coat, her smile bright as the snow. "What happens now?" she asked. "We live," he said simply. Together they walked up the riverbank, footprints weaving side by side until the wind swallowed them. Somewhere above them, faint and impossible, a star blazed a little brighter. You made it to the end. That means you have endurance, heart, and taste for impossible love stories. The kind of soul who doesn't flinch when the night gets cold. So stay in this family. Because more worlds like Ashworth are waiting just beyond the next upload. Hit that subscribe button, the red one glowing like a heartbeat at the corner of your screen. And remember, monsters are just angels who forgot the words to their songs. Let's help them remember together.